Hello, welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. New week, new theme. This week's theme is an excessive amount of blank. We're going to be looking at stuff that has a lot of vocal harmonies, a lot of counterpoint, a lot of time signature changes, a lot of tempo changes, a lot of volume, a lot of layers. I don't even know. I'm excited to get into it. We're just going to look at some excessive music. We're going to start off this week with Dream Theater's The Dance of Eternity. I read that this is an excessive amount of time signatures. I guess let's get into it. Let's see what they got going. Oh, that's not the music. Here we go. This is Dream Theater. Oh, nice. Okay, so I see what's going on here. Oh, that was slick. Yeah. Okay, so we had shifting from downbeat to offbeat, and then pushed into that chug format. Ooh, whoa, whoa, whoa. See, what's also interesting is they're doing a lot of halftime and double time. So a little bit of ragtime in here. Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. They took the similar idea and tossed it into 4/4. Makes me wonder how much of the song is actually in 4/4. All right. See, we just went to a halftime. I I love whatever mode they're playing in right here. It's very like underwater adventure. It's an interesting vibe. Yeah, we got a nice triplet feel going on here. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So, I've talked before about how I really enjoy it when a song starts out with a thesis statement that encompasses everything that's going to be happening the moments forward. And I think this did a fantastic job about it. In fact, Dream Theater, I think at this point, well, actually, they're epic. We listened to Octavarium, I think is what it was called. Um, And I don't think that one did so much of a great job because it was an epic and it went through a bunch of different ideas. But I've also checked out Stream of Consciousness from them. And once again, I think they do a fantastic job of in the first 30 seconds saying, hey, this is what this song's going to be about. This is what we're going to be doing. If if we've interested you so far, you're going to love the rest. If we haven't, feel free to check out. We're not changing things up. And this is another one of those tracks where they hyper focus on a single idea and present it right at the beginning. And I think, I have to have a lot of respect for that. So what's happening here? At least what I think is happening. Actually, I'm going to preface with this. If I hadn't been told that this was a song with an excessive amount of time signatures in it, I would probably walk away from this thinking, how did they fit this into 4/4? That would be my first thought. There's a lot of wild things going on in here, but there's also a lot of moments that are written in 3/4 and 4/4. In fact, a lot of the middle sections, the solo sections, we do have these extended periods of fixation on a single time signature. And without having any outside knowledge, I'm pretty sure I would have walked away from this thinking that it sounded complex, but probably wasn't. Something in the lines of Animals as Leaders or Meshuggah, where they write these hyper complex ideas and then, well, they write things that sound hyper complex and then be like, yeah, that's in 4/4. We'll show you the sheet music. That's kind of what I would have thought was happening here, and I don't know if I would have paid any more attention to the time signature flexibility because of that. I'm actually really happy that it was pointed out because it's going to push me into a different direction of viewing this, and it's going to lead me to a conversation I think I've talked about in the past, but I'm not 100% certain of, and that is, as a composer, not necessarily in a band, because you are simultaneously the composer and the musician. But in a more traditional situation where your composer creates music for musicians to play, or is possibly, one member of a larger orchestra or a larger group of people, where the ideas of the composer need to be very cleanly written and understood by the person who's going to be reading the music next. The point of time signature is to neatly and articulately convey what this section of music is supposed to feel like. For those who might be coming to my channel for the first time, Dream Theater is a popular band. They tend to bring a lot of new faces in. There's two ways to go about writing something like this. One is going to be with the least amount of time signature changes possible, and that's usually going to be looking at a larger idea. Maybe looking at an entire 8-bar phrase and saying, do we have a number of beats that are divisible by 8 so that we can properly cut this up into 8 equal bars so that we can, designate a time signature that's going to flow smoothly here. Given that I know that this song has a lot of time signature changes in it, I'm going to assume they went the opposite direction, and instead of saying how can we fit this into as least amount of time signature changes possible, it's going to be the greatest amount, which makes me think that the time signature bows to the phrasing. So if we have a 7-beat phrase, that bar we're going to look at that as a single bar of 7 beats. If the next phrase is 8 beats long, that's going to be an 8-beat phrase. And it's a peculiar way to go about writing things that I think primarily works best when you are the composer and the musician, because it's probably what makes most sense to them as they were writing it, as they were creating this song. But I will tell you, as a musician myself, being handed a piece of paper where every bar has a different time signature is confusing. That is one of those things that you end up really getting a hang of over time as you come to understand the piece through practicing it, and you understand the ebb and flow of it. You stop looking at the time signature so much just because you know how the song goes. And I think that's how a lot of Dream Theater fans would listen to this song. They already know all the shifts and changes. They don't necessarily need to know each individual time signature change by heart, but they can still sing the song accurately. And I'd wager that that's how they go about playing this too. They're not thinking about time signatures. They're thinking about how the song feels to play. And it could kind of go either way, which one is the better way to go about it. Like I said, I feel like time signature is there to introduce a rhythmic notion. Actually, not too different from meter in poetry. It tells you what the rhythmic phrasing should be of each line in a stanza. And from that point of view, it probably is best to go about this doing it per phrase, because each phrase has its own rhythmic articulation to it. But they also, if that's true, go against the rhythmic articulation by using rhythmic phrasings of shorter phrases or longer phrases and cut them off prematurely or add extra parts to it to create the new elements, which I'm going to get into it in a second. So I don't think there is a right way or a better way or even a proper way to go about transcribing this. Or even, if you're going to arrange it, even if you have the sheet music and you see what they have done, assuming that they have changed every bar has its own time signature to correlate to each phrase, I'm not even sure if it's worth taking that and converting it into something that might fit on a larger scale. Say maybe they end up, maybe you can write the first 36 bars in 7/8 for whatever reason. Maybe that just lines up perfectly where you get an equal amount of beats per bar for this entire 32-bar phrase. I'm not sure if that would actually make it better, because the rhythmic element is not going to line up perfectly. Your downbeats are not always going to have the emphasis that helps imply the time signature. And if the time signature is not being implied, is it really that time signature. So then we would shift back to their idea of doing it, and now it's difficult to read. It gets to a point where memorization is easier to play than actually reading sheet music. So yeah, it's things get awkward when we get into hyper complex music and the readability of sheet music at that point for a musician who has no experience with said music. That was a bit of a tangent, but I think it's important to go over just because of the interesting conversations that can be created. Because time signature really is not anything that deals with the music. It's a way of understanding the music. It's not the music itself. And it really is this readability tool between a composer and a musician, not some sort of set in stone idea. I could easily take what they have written and write it in a completely different time signature that still works. It's still, if you play it, it's still going to be the exact same music. It's just written a different style. Same thing with tempo. You can cut the tempo in half and double which note gets the beat, and you're going to get the same exact sound. There's all these relationships between time and tempo and different meters. So, yeah, it's just an interesting conversation, I think, that honestly, I think about sometimes, maybe a little too often, regarding how songs should be written as far as the time signature goes. So yeah, like I said, I don't know which one would be better for this. But let's dive into this. We're gonna approach it from the idea that I believe is correct in that they changed the meter based on the phrasing, which I'm not a huge fan of overall. But I went into that preface. I think it was important because I needed to state that it's probably the best way to go about doing this one, this song in particular. Um, so yeah, let's dive into this. If you count the beats in every phrase and wait for a repeat or an emphasized downbeat, I think you're going to be able to very easily notate this on sheet music. They run by this rule a lot. And I think what makes this an interesting case isn't just necessarily that they're taking a phrase and applying a meter to the phrase, or actually creating a meter from the phrase, and then repeating it often. They are constantly adding and removing elements to make the time signature changes harsher. So if they have something that would work in 4/4, the first bar would be in 4/4. And just for ease of simplicity, we're going to say that it's 8/8. 8/8 and 4/4 are the same thing. It's like the number 1 and the fraction 2/2. It's the same thing, just written a different way. So 4/4, 8/8 are the exact same thing. The next time, when we repeat this phrase, we might move to a 7/8, and we're actually going to remove one of those notes. The next time we do it, it might be a 9/8, and we're going to put in that note that we removed, so we have that full 8/8 bar again, but we're going to add an extra note to the end of it. And then the next time we might return to that 8/8. And in this phrasing, and this is what I wanted to get to a little bit at the beginning, we have an 8, a 9, and a 7. Well, the 9 is one extra, the 7 is one less. In the larger picture, when you put those together, you get something that would fit in that 8/8 bar again. There's just a delay or a rush to get to the next downbeat. But it would fit. If you did an 8, a 7, a 9, and then another 8, that would fit in 4/4. Even though you have all these wild jumps there in the middle where it feels like you're lurching forward, where it feels like you're rushing to the next phrase, it feels choppy. It can be written in 4/4, even though it might not be exactly readable. Um, so yeah, I hear a lot of that in here where we have I guess we can call it the root idea of a section. And then we'll take that root idea and we'll expand on it, or we'll remove something off of it to create a slightly larger or a slightly shorter phrase, or sometimes even an extra long phrase or an extra short phrase. We might just take the first two notes of it and create actually the first two notes of it and create like a 2/4 bar that would fit in against a 7/4 and a 6/4, just to give that little extra that a little extra boost to the length of the phrasing overall when you look at the larger picture, but also create another lurching moment. We were alternating between 7 and 4, just for example. So 7 4, 7 4 2. Where'd that 2 come from? Now we're back to the 7 4 7 4 idea. And it's just little ways that they're taking a core idea and slightly modulating its length to create these different time signatures. Actually, I take that back. Technically, they're taking this idea and modulating its length to create different phrasings that imply different time signatures. That's actually more accurate if I'm correct about the way they went about this. And there are some moments, like I said, there's the solo section, the bass solo, the guitar solo. Those are both in 4/4, I think. We had these extended moments of 4/4. I think there was an extended moment of 3/4 somewhere in the middle. It wasn't as long as the solo section, but it was still like a 16 bar phrase where we stuck with that 3/4 for a while. So that was kind of nice. Um, Dang, where was I going with that? I don't remember. That's a shame. Um, but yeah, that's the breakdown of the whole song. Is we have these core ideas and we modulate them a little bit here and there, and we contrast that with these ideas of stability, where we have these long uninterrupted time signatures. And from that perspective, like I mentioned, the song at the very beginning, we start off and they say, "This is what we're doing," and I kind of led into that with the alluding to the idea that their thesis statement for the song is the time signatures. But what I actually meant, even though I didn't explain it at the time, was that their thesis for the beginning is look at us take a single idea and convert it into wild sections of music that sound frantic and confusing and all over the place when actually there's a lot of simplicity behind it. We just do a fantastic job of covering up that simplicity with the chaos. And that is the thesis that they present at the beginning of the song and they expand upon as the song progresses. This is actually a fairly simple song in its most foundational, basic element. And I absolutely love how they took this single idea and formed a 6.5 minute song out of it that is wildly entertaining from start to finish. And they do that not only on this macro level, but they do it on the micro level as well. Each individual section is, hey, look at this basic 4/4 phrase we have. Now watch us mess it up. And watch us keep it, and watch us allow it to still be entertaining and to still make some sort of, some shred of sense by the end of it as well. They just do a fantastic job of this one concept on several levels, and I love it. Um, I'm not going to necessarily say I'm walking away from this with my jaw on the floor. There is definitely a lot of really cool elements to this. It is entertaining, it's fun to watch, it is fun to think about. I'm not going to say that I won't be thinking about this for a while, but it is, at its most basic, uh, a bit of a simple thing. And I really, like I said, I don't want that to be a detracting thing. I've mentioned in the past that a lot of complex ideas come from simple concepts. One of my favorite ones to bring up is Stephen Sondheim's musical, Sweeney Todd, Demon Barber of Fleet Street, where he utilizes a 4 note phrase everywhere. It's inverted, it's reversed and inverted, it's flipped, it's harmonized in fourths, it's harmonized in fifths, it's harmonized in octaves. It shows up in every song in various different ways, and most people don't even realize it. They're just like, wow, this is like some hyper complex, really great classical writing, or sorry, orchestral writing. But a lot of that complexity comes from the simplicity of reusing an idea in a lot of different ways. So that I'm not detracting anything from this track by saying that it's based on a simple idea. But I have heard this song spoken in very high regard in my comments, even um, that it is kind of this mind breaking, mind numbing song. And I can definitely see that from an outsider perspective. It seems extremely crazy. And if I have time, we're already approaching the 30-minute mark. I'm I'm gonna see if I can find a transcript or a transposition of this just to go over real quick. First of all, to see if I'm correct. Maybe I'll do it off screen and do a YouTube post about it because I still have more I want to talk about. This is not the end of the video, but I do want to dig into this because one thing I checked out with Animals as Leaders Monomyth is I had a feeling about their time signature, and I went and watched a video about it later, and I was just, first of all, I was completely wrong. Second of all, there was no way I was going to get it. But yeah, and then I think I shared it. Maybe I didn't share it as a community post, but I am interested here what the actual time signature is in some of these sections, and if my theory is correct. So, like I said, we'll see where this runs because I got more I want to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about, though, I think is really interesting, and that is the band working as a single force. And before I start talking about this again, I want you to pause this. In the description, I have a link for the original video. Go click on that, watch it, and listen for every piece of the band. Drums, keyboard, guitar, bass. And listen for how often they're doing different things. And how often they're doing the same thing. And come back. Or don't. You can just listen to what I'm about to say. Let's get into this though. The band is always operating as a single force. They're always operating as a single unit. The guitar and bass constantly playing the same thing with an octave difference between, or a couple octaves difference between them, I think. The keyboard is usually playing what the guitarist is playing, and the drummer is either playing the exact rhythm as everybody else, or playing the accented notes with some ghost elements between it to kind of set up a rhythmic element. But there isn't any strong notion of metronome here, which I think is, well, there's not any strong notion of metronome or really harmonic chordal stuff either. And I think both of those are very intentional. First of all, writing a metronome to this piece is bonkers difficult, and I'm not saying this guy can't do it. Watching him drum, he's a great drummer. All right, he's a fantastic technical drummer. In previous tracks I've listened to, assuming they're the same drummer, I don't know. I know Dream Theater's had a couple of musician change-ups, so I'm not sure if I've heard this drummer before, but Dream Theater doesn't have bad drummers, I suppose would be a way to go about that. So I don't think it's a matter of skill. It has to be intentional. And first of all, it's just going to be really difficult to keep up if they are in fact changing the time signature every single bar. They would actually be more interesting to have a solid time signature to follow, which might actually imply my original idea of how I probably would have gone about writing this, which is having a global time signature that fits on a very large scale that might not line up on individual bars, but does line up in a larger picture. First of all, you'd be able to write a time signature, a beat or a groove, a static groove that would be able to consist across bars. So taking from their perspective that I'm pretty sure they write this on a per bar phrase as far as the time signature goes, creating a rhythmic metronome aspect to it would be incredibly difficult to make sound natural, to make it sound like it fits into the song and isn't just a click track going on that's constantly changing. But secondary to that, the song is called The Dance of Eternity. And that makes me think of time to begin with. And I've mentioned that these guys are very keen about presenting exactly what something is. They're not, at least from my experience, not a group that hides ideas in several layers of depth. So this song is about the time signatures in every way. So they've removed any sort of strong chordal stuff. Now, there is the orchestra going on. They are doing some chordal stuff, but I was mostly focusing on the guitars and bass because as I understand it, the orchestral aspect is not part of the original recording. But I did want to use this. It was the suggested video for the song, but I also wanted to see what was going on. Dream Theater tends to be a little bit more on the technical side, and sometimes I just really enjoy watching musicians do what they're doing. Um, but yeah, it is a technical song that is hyper focused on the time signatures. And having everybody working on the same job amplifies this element, and it really brings it to center stage. There is no metronome to let you know what the time signature is or what the time signature should be or how you should be bobbing your head to this. There's no chordal function that tells you what chord progression we're going in. None of that matters. It's not the point of the song. The point of the song is, hey, look, we're changing time signatures every single bar. What do you think of that? And I love that, that sort of just raw, I don't even know the word for it, just bombast. Just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. If you don't care for it, leave. But if you do care, we want to make your jaws drop. And I love that. It is a really fantastic. It's very self-confident without moving into that realm of being a jerk. I think it toes a fine line there of look how technical, look how awesome we are, but we're not. We're still a bit humble about it. And I think this is just a really cool song that embodies that element right there. Um, I think that's going to be about it. Let's see, we're at 32 minutes. The sign off takes a couple minutes. All right, so I'm gonna watch a time signature thing after the video, and I'll comment about it in the YouTube community post. So if you're curious about my thoughts after seeing how the time signature is written by these guys, assuming I can find something about, I'm sure there's sheet music though, right? There's got to be sheet music or a video of somebody breaking this down. Um, yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel and allow for community posts in your feed so you can see when I do that. And this comes out at 5 on Monday. So I'll have a community post Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon, we'll say. Give everybody some time to watch it, and then we'll open a discussion about it. I'll share my thoughts. That's how that's gonna go. All right, so this video is over. The next one's already started. The special selection for today, 3 minutes ago, is when it aired. It's the second Bear Ghost reaction. So if you enjoyed that track from Thursday, yeah, if you enjoyed the Bear Ghost track from Thursday, stay tuned. Definitely check out this other one. It is same band, and I'd wager it's going to be pretty awesome. Otherwise, look forward to that community post tomorrow, and I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. We'll be looking at another excessive amount of blank. We're going to see what else we can see what else we can listen to that is excessive in some capacity. Until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to. Wait. I almost forgot. Leave your comments. Description box has a link for Linktree, everything related to the channels here, Discord, Patreon, Twitter, email, all that stuff. Also, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. All right, now, remember to be critical and not cynical of the music you listen to. Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.